Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to the Tony and Dakota podcast. Today, we got a really special guest.
This is Scott Malcolm. He's a realtor here in Fort Wayne. We met him through eXp Realty. We're actually part of the same group, and he's also a stakeholder in eXp and the Cheviron Group. We're going to be talking to him about how he's built his business and how he's designed his life around real estate in a way that makes it a lot more enjoyable for him to spend time with his family, to do the things that he values. So we're going to be picking his brain, connecting with him, and learning everything that he has to teach us from his 30 plus years of experience. This is Scott Malcolm.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Appreciate it. You guys have been trying to get me on about 3-4 months now.
I feel like it's been longer than that.
I don't know. But I finally broke down and said, yes, I'll do it. So,
Let's go.
Yeah, that's cool.
So we first met Scott because of eXp Realty, but we got to know him a lot better. I'd like to think that we didn't waste his time, but I feel like we dragged him around to 2 different museums, actually really cool buildings here in Fort Wayne. Dakota and I are looking for an event space. We were thinking that maybe one of these was it. We started doing all the math on how much it was going to cost to fix them up. And although they are incredible buildings, one of them was 36,000 square feet. What really happened was we just ended up getting a lot of learnings, and we got to know Scott a lot better. So
The half
thank
hour
you.
turned into an hour and a half just talking about things. And life
Thank
and
you
all those stuff.
for taking us around, showing us those, and I'm sorry we didn't end up buying either one of them.
No, you guys are on a cool journey too. I mean, it's cool to watch you guys do what you do. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah,
I
but
learned stuff from you guys. So
that's what I say. Now you're here, and then we're going to provide a lot of value. So it was all meant to be. It's all for the good.
there you go. In full circle.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Scott, just to sum up what you've learned in 30 years.
Well, I got an hour. No, I think there's all kinds of things to think about in real estate, though. I used to say not too long ago that it's the coolest business to be in, and it's also the worst business to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And the worst part of that was just because of the time frame that it takes up. You know how much time.
Have you been thinking about investing in real estate?
It's not like what you see on HGTV.
We created a course to show you how to really invest and create a profitable flipping and wholesaling business.
We give you marketing strategies like how to pull lists, who we target, and where we find the money.
We go over sales, which includes live calls and negotiations, scripts, role-playing, and so much more.
Everything that you need to know to flip houses is in this course. And if there's anything that we missed, we will create a video to answer your specific question.
This knowledge has made us over $1 million, and we're selling it today for just $997. Click the link below.
Times it take to sell real estate, and we always talk about time versus money. How much time are you willing to exchange to get the money? So that's always been the challenge for most real estate brokers. My career started, it was 30 years ago as of May, with one company for 28 years, and I managed for that company, which was a really cool experience. And I think that management piece, I think I did 3 different offices, 2 different offices mainly, and then one for a short period of time, maybe 8 months. But it was a neat experience to work with a lot of different agents and watch the different situations that they get themselves into, and then try to get themselves out of it. So, like I was mentioning to you earlier, you got all your own experiences, how you go about selling real estate, and then you take all of your agents when you're in an office, managing an office of 14 or 15 people, their experiences, and then you got to dig down into the deal with them because they're stuck somewhere, and you got to drop everything you got going on, dig down into the deal, and try to really get a hold of it, and then try to say, here's some options that I can see would help you. So by the time you get done with all this, you've got thousands of transactions in your head, thousands. And then like I was just mentioning to you guys, you watch the people work almost, not every night, but you work a lot of nights. I mean, you do. The classic thing in real estate is that you work when they're not working.
Yep.
The public goes to work, most of them 8 to 5. And then they come home, eat dinner, and get the kids fed, and then they want to go out and look at houses at 7 o'clock.
Yep.
Or 7:30, especially in the summertime. And then the weekend comes, and they're not working. So hey, let's go look at houses. Let's come over and take a look at my house to see what to do to list it. So watching everybody go through that process, and I went through it myself. I mean, I remember working 95-hour weeks when I first started. I remember doing almost every open house I could find, in the first couple, 3-4 years of my real estate business to try to pick up clients. So anyways, that watching that whole thing and watching people get burned out. I didn't get burned out to year 7, or maybe it was the 6th year I just hit a wall. I really couldn't stand anything at that point. Don't talk to me. I don't want to hear anything because I was working almost every night. I remember I came home one time and I hadn't been home for 3 weeks straight before 9 o'clock at one period. And, I sold 1.8 million or whatever it was that time, but it didn't matter because I wasn't around. My life was constantly working. And so you're chasing checks. That's what you do. So I've learned over the years how to morph that into something totally different now.
Yep. So. I love it. So what would you say are qualities of a good leader? Because obviously you went from being like a top producer, it sounds like, or like, still like maybe not even a top producer, but doing pretty well for yourself.
Yeah. I did average, I think, in terms of sales. I always was helping people, but I was working on it. I remember, when I first came on board, I was Rookie of the Year way back.
Are you letting deals fall through the cracks because you don't have good systems in place?
We've been there before, and we've tried several different CRMs, and RE Simply has been the best.
RE Simply tracks your KPIs, does automatic follow-ups for you, and even records your incoming phone calls.
The system is simple to use and has more features than we even know what to do with.
If you're looking for a great CRM, try RE Simply today. We put the link in the description. Check it out now.
30 years ago. So I was the first one to buy my own desk. There was desks issued by the company that I worked for, and so I was the first one to want my own desk.
Yep.
And so then I got my own first computer. Back when they had this thing called the World Wide Web started coming around. So I got a computer in my office. I remember everybody going, what? And I got lamps in my office, and I had a whole setup, and I was bringing clients into my office with a second monitor that I was catching on back then to not go out and show 30 houses.
Yeah.
Let's just bring you into the office, and we'll look at all 30 on my monitor on the computer screen that I have for you. I have my own, and then we would narrow it down to 5 or 6, and then we'd go look at those. So I started working on trying to save time.
Yep.
Back then. So those were cool first time things that I've done way back in the years.
Got it.
Ago, but
so how did you go from that into being basically like your leadership role? And like, did you feel like you were automatically just like, okay, well now I'm in a different position. Now I'm the leader. Or did you feel like you're like, okay, I have to develop these qualities now, and like everything kind of shifted for you? Like,
yeah, I think you back if we want to go back to leadership qualities, I remember being on ran track in high school and football, and I remember being told you're going to be a captain. Like, okay, I didn't. Okay, cool. So then I ran track in college, and I was part of a captain on a team there. And I think I had some pretty cool jobs before that. And then when I got to the real estate sector, I was encouraged to manage an office. And so I finally said yes, and we managed office. I guess it wasn't that I went by instinct, I guess, on that. I was made to be a personnel director one time, too. You'd be a great personnel director. I'm going to offer you the job. And they offered me a bunch of money and a bunch of insurance and other things. And I thought, okay, I'll be a personnel director.
Yep.
80-some people in the plant. And I had to deal with that and 16 staff. And I didn't have any instructions. I just went in and did the instinct of getting to know people and see what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish and try to help them get there.
Yep.
And that's what I applied when I became manager in the real estate business, was like, get to know who they are and then find out what they're trying to accomplish. What do you want real estate to do for you? And let me see if I can help you get there. So.
That's interesting. It sounds like you're kind of beginning with the end in mind, which is something that like Simon Sinek says about, leadership. It's like figure out the why first, what it is that they want so that you can help them accomplish it, which I think is pretty key in any sales techniques too, sales, management, that sort of thing. It's how can you take someone else's vision and fit it inside of your vision so that you can grow with them instead of diverging.
I think that reminds me of, when I'd have issues coming on, agent would get in trouble or get into such a sticky situation, and then I would have to talk to the client. That was something that I learned to come in beside them. The client was mad, and they're going against my agent. Mm-hmm. They're saying how bad this or that is. And I would always come around the side of them, walk with them for a while and say, hey, I can see what you're seeing. I can, what is it that you're feeling? I can feel what you're feeling. Mm. And I would walk with them for a while until I finally got them to feel like, yeah, I'm on your side. Mm-hmm. I'm with you. I understand where you're coming from. Then I would slowly turn back around and say, okay, here's some options that I can see we can do.
Yep.
And then that would usually calm things down, and then we would get off the cliff, and then we would start to talk reasonably and get them to come back online with, hey, we're okay. We're going down the right path here. We can make it all work. So, but it's that piece of coming alongside with the agents that I used to coach with, and same thing with issues. Same with your kids, same with your spouses. You try to come along beside them.
Yep. So what you're
Understand them first.
Yeah, what you're talking about is empathy. So
Seek to understand first.
yeah, that's something that I actually struggle with a lot. So is that something that you developed over time, or did you feel like you always had that quality?
Yeah, I don't know. I think you work at it. There's no doubt. I think you become conscious that you need it, that you need to feel it. I think, but I was always one that could watch a movie and start puckering and crying, puckering up.
Yeah.
I was always kind of sensitive to that kind of stuff. So could feel other people's, what they're feeling. I could see it and I could feel it. So that makes you have empathy right off the bat. So.
Yeah. How it seems like it's almost like it's contradictory things though, which is interesting to me. Is like it's empathy, like I want to be there with you, but then also like you were able to turn it around and be like, here's your problem, because I'm so much like, I'm gonna solve your problem. Let's stop freaking dwelling on what you're thinking about feeling. Here's the solution, and that
it's
doesn't
obvious to see. You can jump right on it. Yeah.
Exactly. So how do you balance both of those, and how did you go into that?
I think it is. It's personal growth. Started, several years ago, trying to grow as a human being, trying to become a better human, better person on the earth. And you start learning the things that are important to the human society, which is empathy. One of them is one to understand what somebody's going through. And it comes from being in that position many times,
Yes.
Instead of just keep throwing out, this is what you do, this is what you do. I remember they would come into my office and I would say, hey, the whole earth died. There's no one left. What would you do? What would you think through how you could, what the solutions would be to this issue that you find yourself in? I can easily tell you, but I want you to think through options and think what it is that you would do. If there's no one left to ask and I wasn't here and no one was here, what would you do? Whatever you would decide, you'd have to go with. And then you would learn from that. So yeah, giving out the answers or just telling people what to do. I mean, I'm sure I still find myself wanting to do that, and probably do. But the concept is let's find out what it is you're trying to feel, what you're going through, what are you trying to do, what are you trying to accomplish, what are you up against.
Yep.
That's funny too, because I feel like that's something that I wanted to talk to Dakota about, but now we're just going to do it on the podcast, which is that a lot of times Dakota and I want to tell people like, hey, this is like the solution to your problem, instead of letting them get to their own answers. Yeah. And then the only real way to connect with people and help them get to their real answers is to actually connect with them, like to build rapport first, because without rapport, like the first 5 minutes of a meeting might not be like, all right, guys, this is what we're going to do. Yeah. It might be like, how's everybody doing? Like, how are we feeling? It's, it's this day, small talk type stuff.
Older, I'm totally conscious that my time on the earth is limited. I get it. I mean, I'm the one in the office comes in and open my blinds and I tell the guys in the office, they forget to open the blinds and go right to work, and I'm like, hey, open the light. You got sunlight. You only got so many days of sunlight left, before winter kicks in. And open up for fresh air too. Come on. So, but there's limited time on the earth, and there's limited time. So, trying to work on things that matter to you and that you feel are important to you. That's what the personal growth piece is. I'm always reading and trying to get better at what I guess that Jim Rohn always made. Be all you can be with what you've been given. Why not give it a shot? Let's try it. See what you can do with yourself. So, we're all mixtures of trying different things. But, like one example I would say for other people, I don't have my phone with me. I never bring my phone into human. I made a decision in 2020, I think it was. I had COVID right away. As soon as COVID came in the country, within 3 months I was down.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, and I'm not into Facebook very much, but I was bored sitting on the couch trying to sleep most of the time, and I was scrolling through, and I saw this guy talk about, he had this phone in his hand. And there was thousands of people in the audience. And I thought, all right, clicked on the sound, and he made an entire case for this phone. He went on and on and on about screen time and all the generation, what's happening. He didn't say it was bad or good. It wasn't like it's really bad, but it takes away from human experiences when you're with a human. So I remember listening to that whole thing for almost, I think it was 45 minutes. And I drew a line in the sand back then thinking, I am not going to take my phone in. If I'm with a human being, I'm going to be with a human being.
Wow.
I'm not going to take my phone. I don't want to go, my mind goes, I'm not doing it. So I don't have my phone in closings. I'm the only one that usually doesn't have a phone in closings. I don't have a phone here with me. It's in my car. If I show house, I don't have it. Unless I need it to get in the house, I do. But then I try to stick it in my pocket and turn it off. So I've gotten to that point where if I'm with you, I'm with you.
Yeah.
And that's a cool feeling. I do it with my clients. All the consultations I have, I do not have my phone with them. And all my clients have their phones. Everybody's got phones.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Wow.
Same thing there. I have a limited amount of time yet. I don't know why I'm stuck in this limited amount of time. It's not that it's the end of the earth, end of time, but I think that's the one thing that's precious, right? It keeps going
100%.
away. I can't get it back. And I think as I've watched myself age, you start realizing, you know, I think my wife and I were at our place in Florida, and it was August 2016, and we were getting up super early, drinking coffee, waiting for the sun to come up and watch the dolphins, you know, come up. And it just hit me. I just thought, man, 2/3 of my life is gone. I got 1/3 left, roughly. And I thought, man, I got to draw a line. I got to get serious about what am I going to do with this business? What do I want this business to do for me? You know, what in terms of retirement? I want to be able to have options maybe someday. And I don't want to retire. That's the old term that everyone uses. But it's just, what's chapter 2 look like? Can I develop a chapter 2 in my life? And so that was the day that I came back and I got a coach. We flew back that next day. I paid for it. I had no idea I was going to pay for a coach. I didn't really care. I figured I'll put it on a card if I have to. I'm going to get a coach. So I got a coach, and it took till 2 months to get that all set up. And then that's what changed everything. Started going into personal growth and really wanting to get serious about trying to get a business model that I could use, that I could apply, that would take me where I want to go. The concept was increase income, cut down debt.
When was that?
2016.
Wow.
August of 16.
Wow.
So I had a coach by January 1st. I was second. I had a coach. I also had talked to a person to help me. I said, I can make money. You know, I can make the 6-figure, but I don't know where it goes.
Yeah.
I'm one of those, and I don't want to be one of those anymore.
Yep.
I'm done with it. I don't care. I lay my pride down, and you just tell me what I need to do. And I don't care my age. So I said, that's the only way I'm going to learn is lay my pride down and learn from everybody. So I had this person teach me little by little by little by little. She poured her heart into teaching me what to look for, how to look at it, and how to view money. And you know, I met Austin. Austin was in there doing some cool stuff, and so he took it to the next level of putting all these accounts together. And so my wife, to this day, says that's one of the most awesome things we've ever been through.
Wow.
Is getting the control of the money.
That's
and
awesome.
Learn how to control the flow when it comes in. At the same time, I was increasing my business, and more money was coming in. So that I was like, okay, I need to control this.
Yep.
And then that took away the need to chase checks. So now Friday night comes along, and you have dinner with 2 other couples, and it's somebody calls and says, hey, I want to see this $500,000 house, 7 o'clock on Friday. $15,000 check or dinner with my wife. We used to go chase the check, and now I go dinner with my wife. Awesome. I'm going to pass. Can we do it tomorrow? If we can't, I'll get somebody else that can help you.
Yep.
So I've learned to not do that.
Wow.
So there's more I can talk to about in that particular piece. But, yeah, life has changed a lot in the time that I've been around trying to control my business.
Beautiful.
And personal life, too.
I was thinking about, in terms of personal development, that's a value that Dakota and I definitely have. How much have you spent? I mean, Dakota and I did a few different things. How much have you spent, Dakota, so far on personal development this year?
Probably like 50.
50K?
I've heard you talk before about that's really big. I've been in the 6 range in the past years. I think I've been to 2. That's probably not true. It's probably 20. Probably 5, 6, 7. But a lot of it's books. You know, I mean, a lot of it's really podcast, like what we're doing here.
Yep.
A lot of reading. I mean, I think reading has turned out to be cool. I mean, the first time I started reading, I've been in grad school in architecture. And so I got 7 years of college under my belt. I'm 1 year from a doctorate in some sense.
Oh, my gosh.
4 years undergrad business, and then 3 years of grad school in architecture. And then I haven't read. I didn't read. You know, you read a lot when you're doing all that work, but then you don't. After you get into real life, I stopped reading. And about, I don't know, probably 7 years ago maybe, I thought, I'm going to start reading again. In August in 2016, I thought, I got my first book and read the first paragraph, and what did I just read? Read the first paragraph again? Okay, what did I just read? My mind wants to take off and run and think. And I remember just working at it, and pretty soon I was able to get a page down. And then I was able to get 2 pages down. And then and that's what stops most people from reading.
100%.
Their mind can't stay focused long enough. And that's also part of the screen situation that they teach you and stuff. But that guy talked about.
Yep.
That we're reprogramming the brain to go not stay.
Yep. Well, I love exactly what you said there, actually. Is very important because I always tell people that. I hear that all the time. Well, I don't read it because, honestly, I can't focus on it. They always say that. But asking yourself that question right there, what did I just read? I told Andrew, our acquisitions guy, he's 19. He keeps reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. He's like, I'm not getting anything. I said, hey, man, what I want you to do is start writing down what you're getting from it. Yeah. And then he just gave me an entire, like, he just went bam, 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 bam. I'm like, you didn't learn anything, huh? Look at all that stuff that you just told me, but whenever you question and you're actually writing it down, you're retaining more than what you think. But when you ask yourself that question, what I just read, that's going to be a different different.
Yeah. And I think but don't give up. I think I finally got to the point where I was doing a paragraph, then a page, then it was many pages, and then now it's chapters.
Yeah.
And then you have to stop. Like I got to go to bed.
Yeah.
Or I got to stop and do something else because it's been 45 minutes or an hour, and I got lost in the book, and I keep, I got to go.
Yep.
So it's cool. And I think when I look at the forefathers of our country and what they did, and every one of them had libraries. You know, somebody had a great experience, and somebody said, you know what, you probably ought to write that down in a book, share that experience with somebody. So then we get to have all these experiences from so many people.
That's what we did with you.
To the head. Yeah, that's why I love it. So.
Well, we turned our car into a library too. So when Dakota and I are driving, a lot of times we're listening to Audible and that sort of thing. We do have to use our phones in order to get the get the book going.
I've done it too. That's a lot of the stuff. I put the phone. Now I got a different car that I can just tell the car to find it. It finds it.
Yeah. I guess the moral just for the viewers too is like it's always worth it, especially if you put in the work to buy the course, buy the book, listen to the podcast, do the coaching, ultimately investing in yourself. It's gonna yield something eventually or immediately.
Yeah, the reason that I feel a lot of people don't is very similar to what you said. I'm not going to retain it. And so a lot of times it's an insecurity in themselves is I'm going to go buy this coaching and then I'm not going to do anything with the information. It's usually a fear-based thing of the reason that you don't. If you know, hey, I'm going to act on whatever I learn, you're probably going to buy it. Because like every time I've ever, like I just spent $20,000 on one day with Ed Milet. I'm flying down there in December. One day, $20,000. But I also know that I am the kind of person that is going to take what he's given me and I'm going to implement this for the rest of my entire life. And so I'm going to magnify it. So this $20,000 investment, I'm confident that I'm going to act on it again, as long as I'm still alive to do so. And if not, then I'm dead anyway. So
I think because you got a bigger why, your why's pretty big. My why's big. And I think people don't find what it is. I heard that thing, why? What's your why? I don't know what a why is. When I first heard it years ago. And then after a while, it struck me that, I think I get it. And then I started to come up with my own why. And then pretty soon, like, you know what? Then there's pain there because I want to get to here, and I'm only here, and I really need to get here. So there's some motivation to buy the book, read the book, apply the book, get it figured out, and keep seeking knowledge from everybody. You know, that's the other thing too that I think a lot of people don't. They have pride, like I know how to do this. Well, I'm willing to. I mean, people said, "Can you learn from 30-year-olds?" Yeah, definitely can. You know, it's cool. I can learn from everybody, and I think learning from the books, and learn from the podcast, learning from the seminars, I travel now and go to places where I can listen to people talk and different opinions, and it's a really cool thing. I mean, it's a great journey. Not everybody wants to be on it, though. I know it's that.
Yeah.
Not everybody's motivated to get on these journeys.
Yeah, let's talk about that, actually. You know, basically what you just talked about, there's a book called The Gap and the Gain. Have you read that?
No, I have not.
Okay, so that's a beautiful book. And
Gap and the Gain.
yeah, so what it talks about is exactly what you just talked about, which is an interesting thing that a lot of like high producers basically get. And I want you to talk about your experience with high producers because we talked about it a little bit off camera, but I want to hear your experience. But basically what the whole moral of The Gap and the Gain is that this is where your starting point is. This is where your end point is, where you want to be. And let's just say you're right here. What you're looking at is, again, the gap, where you're trying to be, how far away you are. And then once you get there, then now the gap just moved, and then it just continues to grow. And so your gap is always moving, especially for high producers. From the outside looking in, it looks really honorable because you're accomplishing a lot, but you're always living in the gap that you're never actually getting what you want. And so you just continue to go there. And the gain is looking at, man, like, think about it 5 years ago. If you're where you're at right now, you'd have been like, you would have thought you would have made it then, but now the gap kept moving. So basically just talks about looking back and being grateful for, you know, where you've come from and the person that you've developed to from that. But I want to hear your experience with like these high producers and like, you know, what your experience and how you helped them.
I think my brain went to, once you reach a certain amount of sales or you reach a certain amount of income and you're there now, you've got to that point, and you just open up the next door. It's like, okay, that's cool. So what do we do now? And you start opening you open these gaps back up, and you want to. And I find that with a lot of top producers, they're devouring things and they're getting to points, and then they want to open that door and go more. And then my experience has been with not everybody, but a lot of the larger producers that I was able to manage or be a part of their production world, they get burned out. I mean, they reach a point where they're kind of fed up and they're frustrated, or they're overwhelmed. You know?
Yep.
And it comes in seasons. There's seasons to life, and there's seasons to your job, and So the seasons hit, and they run hard, and then they're burned out. They're tired. They're done.
Yeah.
But then they often go ahead.
That's hilarious because I literally wrote stages out here, and I put stage 1, hustle, stage 2, make money, stage 3, burnout and overwhelm, stage 4, create boundaries and priorities. So how is your operation different from your friends and your competitors, and what do you do coaching wise? How do you help people that are in that burnout and overwhelm stage?
I mean, first I had to help myself. First thing I did was trying to figure out myself what I need to do. I see what they were doing, it's drifting through, not putting systems in place, I think really becomes the issue. A lot of agents, why do they work evenings and why do they work weekends? They've all, not all, you never say all, but a lot of them have bought into, that's the business I bought into. This is what we do as real estate brokers. It comes from, for me, I could see it coming off, this is a term that I've used, coming off the street. Everybody, I'd say they put up spider webs. They do a little bit of marketing here, they do some social media here, and they put together these plans, and they do all that, and then something hits the web, and then they run over and go for it, see if they can put this deal together. Somebody, I don't know who they are, but they responded to something, they responded to me, and I go run after and get it and see if I can put it together. That whole atmosphere of working what I call off the street, which is what everybody pretty much does, or most people do, comes with that reactionary lifestyle, that scarcity mentality. It just does, because if I don't take this call Friday night, when we're going to go out to dinner, but now I got a $500,000 deal in front of me potentially, they get used to chasing checks, and they get used to say, if I don't take this, somebody else will. So I got to respond to this. I got to take it. And so that's what I've seen a lot of the bigger producer and agents, they would get burned out because they're doing this all the time. The weekends come. There's people that have plans all weekend. First time they have plans to do something with their family, do something else. Then some call comes in off a sign. They want to see the house. That's your listing. You could double bob it. Both sides of it, and all of a sudden, then they want to see 2 more, and then they want to see some on Sunday, and you turned and pivoted and took care of this person. And I think a lot of agents want to take care of people, right? We do. We want to make sure that we're there for you. We're going to take care of you. You can count on me. I mean, until I get burned out and I'm fed up with everything because I can't keep up with everything.
Yep.
So I think everybody reaches that point, and not everybody, but a lot of people do. And I think what I've done is put in systems in place I was starting to taste referrals, because you've been in it long enough, you get referrals. They're happenstance referrals. I think everybody gets referrals. Most people, referrals will trick into your life. They will, because you've been around and you've done a good job, and people like you, and then they'll refer you. And then those people were much easier to work with. There was no doubt about it, because they already kind of had a little bit of trust. Somebody said that you should use Scott, and then that trust was there. And then I could actually guide them a little easier. I liked how that felt versus somebody I met at the house that didn't show up and they wanted to see the house, or they just ignored me and go over in the corner and they start talking amongst themselves. They really don't want me involved in their conversation. I'm an outsider. That's what a lot of agents feel when they work off the street.
Yep.
So and then the whole game becomes, how good are you at conversion? Can you, once you get them at the house, can you convert them to be your client? And everybody feels they're good at that. I mean, I haven't heard anybody that says, no, I'm terrible at that. They all say, no, I'm really good at it. Once I get them at the house, man, I'm good at it. I'm good at getting this converted. Like they work with me almost 99% of the time. That we've had that forever, right? I mean, that's been, when you got a floor call back in the day, or you got a sign call, we did that all the time. The buying of leads offers that. It says, hey, just here's a lead, go out and just try to, at that moment when you see them in the house, you're looking at the house, let's go ahead and try to get this thing, try to capture them.
Yep.
That is not what I do. What I've learned to do is work off this referral business. I started looking at, geez, why would I do an open house and try to pick up a 50-50 shot from people I don't really know for 2 hours? It used to be 3 back in the day, now it's 2. Or I could learn to call through my database and see if I can help anybody with painting. You need floors, you need roofing, do you need anything? I got contractors that can help you do anything in your house you want. And then I just say, just keep in mind at work, you probably got somebody thinking about buying or selling. Or, your family too. Make sure you check your family, and then your neighbors, and make sure you invite your church group, and just make sure that you keep an eye out there for me. And they tend to like, okay, yeah, cool. So at any one given time, I've got people using my contractors. I got 4 or 5 people right now. There's people doing different things with my They're not intending to sell themselves. That's not the idea. The idea is that they have 4 circles around the top of their head every time I meet somebody that gets referred to me. So that is what I've started to fostering this idea of working. At one point, you guys, I drew a line in the sand and said, I will not work off what I call the street. I will only work by referral. And then that's not always adhered to. Adhered to by me, but that is not probably what most agents would say that's a good idea. I think because they still want to do the street stuff.
Sure.
But I would spend 3 hours calling through my database or 2 hours calling my database, and I do that consistently enough. I get warm leads that are already trust me.
Yep.
And then I do consultations. I would not do, if you got referred to me, I would not go out and show you a house at 7:30 on Friday night. I would say, look, the best way I can help you is to sit down with you and do a consultation with you to find out what you're trying to accomplish, what's your time frames, have your house to sell, do you have been to a lender, all the things I need to know in order to help you. And then we put together a plan. Does that make sense? And they all go, yeah, okay, I guess so. The market's moving fast. I'd like to see the house, but we can probably come over there before that. And that first meeting, I have to do it whenever they can kind of do it. But I try to still pinch it into the day. Can you get here at 4:30? Well, I guess I have to get off work. So I get that consultation in there. That is gold.
Yep.
I've learned that is the golden rule of real estate for me, is to get work the referral business, get the referrals to come in. The trust factor's here. After the consultation, trust factor goes to here, the trust factor, and now I can lead. Once I can lead, I can influence. It's not a bad lead, it's a good lead. If you want to go buy a house, or you want to go build a house, or you want to sell a house, you've got, how many times do you do it in a lifetime? 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe in a lifespan?
Yeah.
I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of deals under my belt.
Yep.
You want to go do that, let me lead you. Let me tell you the best way to go about that.
Yep.
Because I want you to refer me to everybody you know at friends and family and church and all the rest of stuff. So it's a whole, it's an abundance mentality versus a scarcity mentality.
Yep.
Therefore, I don't react to these. I don't get calls anymore. I haven't gotten calls for years now that, Scott, got your name from John. I want to see this house on 7:30. My clients have all been trained for years now, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And when they give referral to me, they don't just say, call Scott. They say, hey, he works during the business day. He's been around for a long time, blah, 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 blah. And give him a call and set up a time to talk to him. So my calls all come in, Scott, I got your name from John. Hey, we're thinking about selling our house. And let me know some times that maybe we can get together. I don't get the call, hey, I want to buy a house. I saw one I really like, but if we get a time to talk about that, that's what I get. And then so I can be in Florida, and I can get that call. I can call him back the next day. If I'm out doing something I didn't, get to it that day, I can call back the next day and just say, hey, got your call. I really appreciate John referring you. Hey, the best way I can help you is sit down with you for 45 minutes or so and find out what it is you're trying to accomplish and see what I can do to help you.
Yep.
What we're really trying to accomplish in there is also find out if it's going to be workable, if we're going to be a good match.
Yep.
First it's all about you, right? It's all about you. Tell me about you have a dog? Just what I did with the agents. You got kids? How long you been in Fort Wayne? Get to know them, connect heart to heart. And then from there, we'll talk about the market. We'll talk about the financing pieces of it, and we'll talk about how we're going to go about the process and what the time frames are. And then at the end, I tell them how I work. And I make a really strong case for why would we work during the day, why would we work in the evenings? And they all go, well, because that's when I'm off work. Okay, so do you get time off to go to a doctor's office? A doctor's appointment throughout the year somewhere? You take time off your work to go see a doctor. How much you spend with them? And they'll say, well, 300, 1,000. You get time off to go see a dentist? Yeah. How much you spend with them? Not much. So what you're asking me to do is help you, basically being a guide to help you invest $300,000, $200,000 in the market, and we want to squeeze this in after hours. Because this, at the end of the day, even the biological rhythm of your body starts to say, I'm getting tired, or I'm less effective at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and 10 o'clock at night than I am during the day. Yeah. You want me to handle the biggest transaction of your life, pretty much, or one of the biggest transactions of your life, and the top 5 most stressful things you're going to do in the evening hours when you're probably tired as well. So does it make sense to do that? And they're like, well, no, I guess not. It doesn't make sense. It is something that I take seriously, and I need us to both take it seriously enough to deal with this during the business day. If you're taking time out to see a doctor, see an attorney, for your dentist, you certainly would want to take time out to invest $200,000 in this real estate market. Yeah, is the way I feel about it. So, I mean, how do you feel? And then they all pretty much say, well, that makes sense. I never thought of it that way. So, and then the other thing I'll use, okay, your husband and wife. So he's a real estate broker and you're not, and he just became one, and he has to show homes on Monday till 7:30. You're cool with that? I mean, you and the kids are going to eat dinner, but he'll be home at 7:30. That's cool. Tuesday night, he's got Sally called up, and she wants to see a couple homes too, so he'll be home about 8 o'clock on Tuesday night. And then Wednesday night, the first one's back. She wants to look at 2 more she found. And then so Wednesday, he can't come home either. And then Thursday, he's doing somebody else, got a new client came in. And then Saturday comes along. Friday, he's home. That's great. Saturday comes along, and he's got 2 clients who want to see houses at 10 o'clock in the morning, 1 at 2 in the afternoon. And then Sunday's got an open house. And he wants to show a house after that. Now, Monday comes along, and he's not home till about 7 or 8. You cool? How many How many months would you say that that's good, that you would tolerate that behavior, and then turn that into months, and then turn it into years, and turn it into a career? It's not healthy. That's my whole point to agents. It's not a healthy way to go about your business.
Right.
You got 95, I don't know what the number is for sure, but it's a large number that live that kind of life. Even your experienced agents that I've dealt with and I still deal with live that kind of life. I get texts. I go to bed. I mean, I'm disciplined. I have a routine, and I go to bed around 9ish. You know, it's 9:30, but I'll read. That's just my routine. That's what my habit is. And I'll have texts from 9:40 and 9:50 and 10:05, and still having conversations, having counteroffers coming back to me, because the client got home after work, started thinking about real estate like they always do, and then pulled the agent in because I have a question about this, and then the agent tries to pull me in because that's when they all want to think about real estate. I train all my clients to think about real estate during the business day. It's one of the largest transactions you're going to do in your life. It's a big deal. There's a lot of money involved here. The title companies go home at 5. Attorneys go home at 5, roughly. The survey companies go home at 5. Everybody that handles our real estate transactions go home at 5. We don't, because we're scared to say no. And we work off of a scarcity mentality. I can't say no, because if I say no, somebody else will get it, so I got to go do it. Versus learning to work off referral, who trust you, and train all your clients over time. Pretty soon they come in, they're warm leads, and they trust you already, and you don't have to react. You can respond appropriately the next day or whatever it is that you need to do. You're not going to win them all, but you're going to win 99% of them. And then you just have a consultation. Next thing you know, you got all the trust in the world, and you can lead and you can influence. If you bring me, agents bring me deals. I list more than I do buyers. I can ask a few questions of you, and I can tell how much you have influence over your client. And very few people have a lot of influence over their clients because they don't really know them that well. They got a call or they got the lead coming off the net, and they're running, and they're just trying to put a deal together. They're just trying to get it closed, try to get it put together and close it. I'm trying to build these long relationships that have all these bubbles around their heads that keep feeding me and feeding me and feeding me. So my living every year becomes whatever I get fed. That's what I make. I make whatever I get fed. And then that trust factor is super high. And then I live a life where I don't work nights. There's people that say, I can't do it. I said, well, you know what, then what time do you get off? They say 5 o'clock. A lot of them are 5 o'clock or 5:30. Let's go ahead and go right from the house, right from the office, right to the house. 99% of them say, oh, we can work that out. So, the wife will go home, get kids early, and get them in the car, and then they'll meet me at 5:30 or 5:45, and we'll look at 2 homes. And I'm always home by 7 or 7:30. I'm usually home normal time. But that's the give and the give. If I can't get them to do it during the day, take the day, time off. And I'll tell you one more thing before I'll be quiet here a second. But I just remembered where I started with that. That year I reached burnout, year 6 or 7, I went down to some continuing education courses in Indianapolis. And this guy got up and stood up, and he stood in front of the whole crowd. There was thousands of us at this thing. And he said, every one of you ruined your lives. And I thought, wow, what's he? Every one of you in this room have ruined your lives. Because you all work off a scarcity mentality. You're all scared to say no to anybody because the next person will get it. It's dog-eat-dog world, I get my share of the pie before you get it. And that's what most agents live a life like. And so that's why they work nights and weekends. And he started talking about you need to work off your sphere of influence. And don't take it lightly. Go deep with this. Go dig down and get this referral business solid and get it deep with relationships. So he said, everybody's got a lunch. Most people have a lunch hour somewhere in their life they got to eat. Humans have to do that. So he said, you know what? Ask them. If you want to see 2 houses at 7:30 on Friday night or Tuesday night or whatever it was, do you have a lunch hour? So I had a big client. I had just left to go down there for 3 days. And this guy was a 600, give or take, client, 600,000. And I came back, and I thought, I'm going to try it. And I was sweating. I was scared. And he called up. He left a voicemail for me. Scott, 7:30. It was classic. 7:30 Thursday. I want to see these 2 homes. Called him back, and I said, how'd the seminar go? I said, great. And I said, I understand you want to see those 2 homes? Yeah. And they were 580 and 620. And I said, do you have a lunch hour? And he goes, do you have kids? The guy he was really sharp. So when I said, do you have a lunch hour? He goes, you have kids? And I said, I do. He goes, I'll call you back. I thought, oh, man, I lost him. I thought he's not calling back. He's going to move on. Maybe, I don't know. He was kind of a mixed emotion on that. He called back an hour and a half later. He goes, hey, how about Thursday, 3:30? I'll get off work. We'll go look at those houses. I got kids too. We'll both be home by 5 for dinner. I said, that'd be awesome. And that's how he continued to go on. So that gave my first little hope of like, hey, I tried it with a pretty big client, and he bit. He understood it. So then I kept using that lunch hour thing for a while until it couldn't work for everybody. But it eventually led me into realizing that I could get people to do things if I asked and if I tried to explain. So now I live a life where I don't weekends are limited, and I'm always open in the morning. For those people that can't do it, this concept, I always say I'm open from 8 to noonish, on Friday, Saturday morning if you need to do it. But our first order of business is not to do that. Our first order of business is to do it during the business week.
Yep.
Everybody gets the concept of that.
Yep.
So I'm living a life of not working many. I hardly work nights. I haven't worked nights for a long time. Just have to work a little bit, and then weekends are very rare. Other than when I just have no other option, we have to go do it. So the bulk of my work is 8 to 5, and my income is higher than it's ever been. By far, I'm having the best year I've ever had. Last year was the best year I've ever had.
Wow.
So it's really cool. And then the other thing too, I think you guys it adds is respect. Most of my clients, my age doesn't hurt. I don't think gray hair now doesn't hurt. But when it does come down to where people say, well, what do you think we should offer, Scott? What do you think, or what do you think we should do? What do you think we should do on the inspection? I'm always pitting it against the contract and making sure I get my clients in a position where to their advantage if it needs to be. But so it gives you that respect. And so now I have a respectful business. I don't work hardly many evenings, and I don't work any meetings at all, and I don't work hardly any weekends, very little. And I have a really good business, and it's cool. And my wife and I can go to Florida. And I've learned how to do Zoom from there. All my consultations are Zoom calls.
Yep.
That I get people, hey, thanks, I'm down in Florida right now. How about we do Zoom call on Tuesday at 3, or I got Thursday at 4? Like, okay, yeah. And then we get on, and I go through the same process I put them through if I'm sitting in front of them. And then I set up a search. They start sending them listings. I do have boots on the ground here that can show them. I've actually had them take a phone with them and then put me on FaceTime, and I'm analyzing the house.
Yep.
The camera's pretty good, by the way. You can get on a washer and dryer and put it back where you can't see. You can put the camera back there.
Yep.
And see if there's a gas line down there, electric. Which one is it?
That's
so
awesome.
The phones work pretty good. So, and then that keeps the trust going, and then usually I'm back in time to handle it and personally. So it's cool.
Yep. Yeah, you said a lot of good stuff there. The biggest one that is obviously the overarching theme is lifestyle over money, which you've obviously created the lifestyle that you want to live, which I think that a lot of people don't think about so much. They say yes to every opportunity because realistically, are you missing out on money? Yeah. Potentially.
I am.
And there's a lot of opportunities. When you get to that level, there's going to be a lot of opportunities. I mean, Tony and I are now in a position where opportunities are coming up like crazy. Everybody's like, oh, we want you to be a part of this. We want to be a part of this.
No,
and are we saying no to money? Yes, guaranteed. 100% we are. But it's like you have to also question, what is the life that I want to live, which is a question I think that everybody should really be asking themselves.
I'm shocked at how many people don't. I think because they're just caught up in the chase. You have to understand how to handle money, though. So the better you are at handling money, if you can't handle $1, you can't handle 10, you can't handle 10, you can't handle 100, you can't handle 1,000. I get all that.
Yep.
And I think once I learned when I went to that person and said, hey, I don't know how to do this. I think I do, but obviously I don't. So show me. And so getting a control on money takes away the fear. You have backup money, you have reserve money, you have things that are going on. And it's not like I made tons more money than I ever made before. Just know how to handle it better. When you handle it better, it takes away that fear of having to need that check. I got to go. Sorry, honey, we need the money. That goes away, and you start to get control of your life. I think I've been to seminars, or not seminars, but conferences, and it is amazing. No one measures it, and it's not measurable, right? You can measure production. That's easy. And that's what this industry boasts is production. Nobody says, what was your life like? And the person would not answer that. You have to go to the spouse. The spouse is the one that would say, what was the life like when he did 15 million? Sometimes they can do it pretty smoothly, but a lot of times you go to these places and you have events, and the wives, you'll hear them, or the husbands, the significant others, you'll hear them complain about the amount of time that they spend going off on the phone and running off on the vacation and handling things while they're gone and with the kids. And we went to Disney World, and he's on the phone over there. And that's what happens because they don't have control of their clients. They don't have control of their life. So.
Yeah. That's a very good point. Is like it's so not measurable, and that's what and a lot of times, I think about it. That's what it probably mostly comes down to, is that it's a insecurity maybe of trying to prove yourself that a worthiness. Because I question that a lot. It's like I had to be the top producer when I was in sales. I had to be number one. Like if I wasn't number one, I felt like I failed. And it was more of an insecurity in myself than it was in general. So
that's the measuring stick that we put.
Exactly.
We give awards out at the end of the year. Just walk across the thing. I did 15 mil.
Yep.
I get it. I mean, it's a hard thing to do. It's a lot of work to produce those kind of numbers. But it is the one that the lifestyle is not measured, and how many hours did you put in, and how many times did you not be able to get to the family things that counted? Because I think in the end, at the end of the day, when you get all the way to the end, I think it's all the relationships that you could actually foster that meant something versus just transactions and money thrown through the bank.
Mm-hmm.
It's really those transactions. I mean, I've got people from all spectrums of life, and it's cool to hear these first-time buyers, and I'm giving them speeches about setting their 401ks up right now. And when you're my age, you'll be set, and you don't have to worry about things. And then I got people that just go into retirement. I got people that are at the end of retirement and going into handling their personal health.
Mm-hmm.
They've been retired for 22 years, and they're done. They got to go to I can't stand in front of the stove anymore. I can't put on my socks anymore. I got to go get some help. And so all these spectrums I learned from every one of those. And I give advice to the ones that I can give advice to. I learn from the other ones and try to prepare myself for what I'm going to be going through. And it's these pieces that you get from everybody. I think it's hard to get that when you just meet them at the house, you were in the contract, you close the deal, and you move on to the next one. Because there's more coming at you. You don't have time to go back and, hey, how are you guys doing?
Yeah.
You know, we did put a barn up. It was like, wow, cool. So I think getting time to go backwards and check on your clients and build relationships, it feels really good. They say it does, and I've done it, and it is good.
Yeah.
And then I can control everything with these consultations, and it's just a smooth, cool life that I never thought I could get to, but I wanted it bad enough that I kept looking for ways to get it done. Now I've been living it now. So
yeah. So what would you say is your best piece of advice for somebody who's living in that now? They're chasing the accolades, they're chasing them one. What would your advice to them be?
I mean, I think it's the one thing that no one wants to do. That I don't know if they'll ever do it. Is this? It's called database. They don't spend a lot of time on it. They just well, I got a database. Well, I know, but you don't. I know a lot of team leaders, that we buy leads and we feed out to the team, and when you feed like that, it's just you don't have time to work on your database because you're out running around chasing the ones in front of you all the time, coming down the path. And I used to do that, not on the buy side of it, but I did it where it's just trying to get stuff in the web and then chase it. Mm-hmm. And so if somebody came to me in 1995, I remember, and said, you need to build your database. I'm like, what the hell's a database? I was like, no, it's everybody you've ever sold to. Like,
Are you sure they didn't call it like a Rolodex or something
I
like
never
that?
had one. Yeah, the Rolodex. But I remember going back into the room where we had all of our files, and I remember looking for my handwriting. And this room was full all the way around. I go through the A's, like, oh, that's my handwriting. Oh, that's a client of mine, yeah. And then and I went through all through the Z's. It took me weekends, and I finally got everybody that I ever sold a house to that was still in the file cabinet, and I wrote them all down, and I put them in a computer. Like, wow, this was new. But I would say we have a young guy that started that's working under me right now, and he just had gotten married, and he had 300 people on his list. And he just came into our office and like, hey, we're going to start selling real estate. And I thought, well, there you go. This is your gold mine. This is the holy grail right here. You need to get into this database. And the first round is just call everybody up and tell them, hey, I'm in real estate now. Just to let you know. Simple message. And write a little note. Say, hey, I was in real estate. Let me know. Hey, here's my card. Do that. And you work your way. First thing you had to do is go in and try to find the rest of the emails, find the phone numbers, spend some weeks, not months, but weeks digging around, asking for people. Do you know his number? Do you have his email? I need to put that thing as solid as you can get that database with emails, home addresses, and phone numbers. And then start working your way through that by calls, and then following up with personal notes, and then working your way through, and then see if you can send them something once a month. I mean, just work that database up. It's cool, you guys. And very few people get here. They just don't get here. I've gone as far, and I started this when I very began. I have a conversation with you. I get off the phone with you. I'm going to go into your file, pull your name up, and I'm going to put the gist of our conversation in there. Mm-hmm. I've got now 4 or 5 years of conversations in here.
Wow.
So when I call you twice a year. So I'll call you in the spring, call you in the fall. And when I do, I'll pull your name up. I'll pop down on these conversations, and I'll look at the thread, and then I'll look at the last conversations, and there's a dog in there. This kid went to college in there. There's stuff in there now that I have that I can call you. So Sarah's a freshman now in college? Yep. No, she's a sophomore. Okay, so how is she doing? Mm-hmm. And we get conversations like that. Yeah. Versus being so cold. And that's multiple conversations like that over the whole year with multiple, and 260 some people is all I got in my 238 people in my database. That's all I got. But they all feed me a really good living, and then they feed me people that they trust, that I trust. I always say, if you trust them, then I trust them. Don't give me anybody you trust. You don't trust.
Right.
So that whole thing. But I would say working on a database and getting something to become robust, it becomes well-oiled, becomes very fruitful, and you can get into a world that you can control, and it's trust, and it's respectful. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, you feel like you actually are a true advisor in the sector of real estate to help people invest into the market. That's why I try to think of myself as that's the level I put myself at.
Yep.
I usually dress up more when I have clients. I'll dress up. I do the old Cashin thing. I put the suit on, and not always a suit, but sport coat. Sometimes I wear a tie, not as much anymore. But I try to come in there as a professional. If I'm going to handle a $200,000 deal for you, or $400,000, or whatever it is, I'm going to dress appropriately the way I think that somebody would do it.
Yep.
Your generation is cool with not doing that,
Yeah.
but I still do it anyway.
Sure.
And I still get, I have the entire gambit. I got 21-year-olds, the 25s, all the age brackets still come to me. I mean, I'm sure somewhere they don't, but I mean, I still, you can ask me any given month or any quarter of the year, I'll have the variety in there. I got from retirees all the way down.
That's
the brand
awesome.
new kids just starting out because mom, dad said, go to Scott.
That's awesome.
So it's been worked over time. So, and then I got all these pieces. It's pretty cool. I wish I could, I want to start to share that with other agents and let them mentor them on that concept of how we get this thing to work. And it's not an overnight thing. And that's that phone, and then the screen and all the things that the brain goes,
Yep.
that's hard to get somebody to come down and go, hey, this thing takes a couple of years to get going, but once you get on it, it's the holy grail of real estate.
Yep.
You can make a really good living, it's a respectful business, and you don't spend a lot of nights and weekends doing it.
Yep.
And people will work on your schedule because they trust you and they respect you.
Yeah.
How could you not like that?
100%.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of probably a lot of real estate agents who are watching this. So if they were interested in like getting mentored or anything like that, like kind of learn more from you, because obviously, we're almost out of time. Actually, we're going to get into some closing questions in the next couple minutes.
Sure.
But how would they get a hold of you, or like what would that mentorship look like?
Yeah, no, I think it's something I start with a conversation. We have several meetings, in a sense, kind of consultations to see if it's something that they'd be willing to do. I think you're not going to let go of what you have going on. You're going to continue that. You're going to continue with your purchasing of leads. I get it. It makes sense to. It's hard. It's like being addicted. I mean, you can't just stop the money flow.
Right.
So you got to. But I can teach you how to start to integrate into the calendar time frames to start to look backwards and what we do, how we go about the backward. Calling the people that you've just closed on and checking on them and offering them help. At the first round, you don't even talk about referrals. First round, you just see if you can help people. That's it. I remember the first lady calling back said she needs some leaves rake because she had hip surgery. I'm like, perfect. This is awesome. I was so fired up. I said, I got a guy for you. And he went out there the next 2 days later, and she's been doing it ever since. And I still check on her. And yeah, he's doing a great job, Scott. I love everything. She's never given me one referral once. But that's okay because I helped a human being.
100%.
And I felt really good about it. And so she needed help, and I was able to come through.
Yep.
And so, we do that over and over and over and over and over, and pretty soon it starts to become fruitful. So, but I would say just call me. Call me on my phone. You can look me up.
Yep.
My email address is, I can say it or not.
100%.
It's scottmalcolmexp@gmail.com.
Yep.
That's my first thing, is to try to see if I can help some agents learn to live this kind of lifestyle. Here, and I'll say one more, probably not. We'll have another podcast someday.
we got more questions still.
Go ahead.
What is your biggest struggle right now?
Wanting to spend more time in Florida.
Okay.
But still selling, still engaged in what I can do. That's my biggest struggle. I suppose that's my biggest desire is to want this lifestyle that I've created, which we've been spending January and half of February.
That's awesome.
And I remember last January I think I was 700-some thousand came through while I was there. So
Wow.
yeah, I can keep the business flowing. So that's probably the only thing that I right now. And I'm bragging about my business. That's what I don't complain about mine. I brag. what I've built over the last 6-7 years. So pretty cool.
Yeah, I would say the thing that I like the most about what you said and what you do is I always thought about, like, whenever I was in sales, like, man, I'm writing down our conversations and stuff. Like, that doesn't seem very intentional, but it's the most intentional thing. Yeah. And then again, like, let's say that they don't send you a referral. I love what you said there because I'm trying to help our acquisitions guys see this. Dude, the worst case scenario is you helped another human being out. That's worst case. If they never send you anybody, you had a connection with another human and you got to help them. And to me, that doesn't seem that bad.
I think people take that, though, the other way, where I'm constantly wanting to be there at 7:30 on Friday night because I want to help you. But you also need to set boundaries in your life. If you don't, you'll just constantly meander across, like you all do. Everyone does.
Yep.
I watch it. So when I manage those offices, my big producers would come in, and they would end up getting burned out. They would end up the guys would get mad, and the girls would have tears. And that's behind the scenes. Now that when they get back out in the public, they're rock and roll and ready to go.
Yep.
And I think some people you just can't convince. They like the cheetah. They like the chase. They don't want to slow down. They see something, they go after it, and they love it. So there's going to be some people that just aren't going to go into this kind of system.
Yeah.
It's calm.
Or it's what they were taught.
It's what they bought into, yeah. I know a lot of the spouses have bought into the same thing. Hey, that's what my husband or my wife or my significant other said that's what this is. So you had to accept it. I've learned that, no, you don't. You can carve it up. You can do it a different way.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the few. I'm now trying to reach out and go, hey, you guys want to check this out?
You guys want to go to Florida?
Yeah. I mean, I've been on a boat talking to clients with my earbuds in the Gulf of Mexico, sitting there floating along with the engine turned off, and we're floating along the island.
That's
and
awesome.
I'm having a full blow conversation.
Yep.
They don't care. It's okay as long as I'm guiding them and I'm talking to what's going on. They're cool with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What you talked a little bit about personal development. What book have you gifted more than any other, or what books do you think are absolutely necessary? Like top 1, 2?
I thought about this before because I know we talk about this in this group that we're all in, this personal growth group. And I really do. I got the problem with I like a lot of them. I like a ton of different books.
All right, top 10.
Top 1 even. I mean, there's some sophisticated ones. I guess the one that oh my gosh, what was it? It's written in story form, and it's it's there. The five regrets of the dying. That's what it's called. Bonnie Weir. 5 Regrets of the Dying. That was a pretty eye opener. That was a lady who basically spent 10 years of her life helping people pass.
Wow.
So it's palliative care. So it's not the other when you call in someone to ease your pain. It's called something I can't think of it, but there's palliative care is the other piece to that, and she helped people pass. And palliative care is expensive. So usually a lot of your wealthier people can afford palliative care. So somebody just to be there with you. No one else is left. The kids are gone. They're whatever. This lady, and it was telling people you love them. I mean, just flat out say the words. Because in my generation, we're all like,
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Don't say it,
Fist bump.
Yeah, we're good. That means I love you, man. We're good. So it was keeping friends, keeping your circle of friends. As you get older and older, your circle of friends gets smaller and smaller and smaller because you don't stay in touch as much.
And some of them die.
Yeah, they do. They start passing away.
My dad's your age, and some of his friends are dead because of all of the crazy stuff that they used to do when they were younger.
Lifestyles are catching up. Yeah, but I mean, there was 5 of them in there, and it was a pretty good impact on me as thinking that I needed to get in touch with a lot of my friends that I went to high school with, and so I started making phone calls and started going, hey, you want to go to lunch? Let's go to lunch. Come on, it's on me.
That's
so
awesome.
I rekindled a lot of those relationships. So there's 5 altogether. So that was one of the book that I think was really cool. It made you think about life a little bit more.
Wow.
The other one I gave one of our agents, young agents. Drawing a blank on that one too. No Excuses by Brian Tracy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a simple book, simple read, but he takes each category of life and he says, no excuses why I can't do no excuses. There's no excuses. And when you get done reading that, it's a fast read, and you do. It's just straight up in your head, just no excuses. Fear, no excuses. Go. So
that's awesome.
It's cool. There's tons. I have a library at my home that I started years ago, and I brought all my books from college. I've towed them around for all these years, and so I got a whole case full, and then I've got my little cases that I got with all the books I'm reading right now. So I'm always reading a book.
No Excuses, one of Dakota's favorite songs, but it's by somebody different. Brian Tracy was the original NF.
Yeah, the original book on that.
Yeah.
All right, this is a final question we usually ask all of our guests. 38 years from now, you made it to 100. Right, you're on your deathbed.
Yep.
You have a final message to the world. It's a sentence, a mantra, a paragraph. It's going to be a billboard in Times Square. It's your legacy to everybody who knew you. What's the message that you feel that the world needs?
I go right to my dad. When he passed away, there's a whole story behind my dad. He was like the godfather of our family. He was a big guy. He was 6'2", I think, and white hair, and he was a big dude. And he was kind of like the godfather of our family. And I remember I was feeding him. He had a disease at the time, so I was feeding him. My brother and I were shaving him and cleaning him, and I didn't know he was going to pass away in 3 days, but I was feeding him Cheerios, and he didn't want to eat Cheerios. And we were down to that point where he didn't really want to eat any food anymore. And I said, Dad, what are you most proud of? You raised 7 kids. I'm the bottom of 7 kids. And all of us are, we love each other, and there's nobody weird in our family. It's all cool, and we've all had other kids and kids and kids. I mean, we have Christmas sometimes. Back in the day, it'd be 50-some people in our house, or Mom, Dad's house. And Dad just said, hey, he thought it for a while, and through his oxygen mask, he mumbles, I think it's all the people I could help along the way. That's really what made him feel. All the lives I could touch and people I could help along the way is what really mattered to him. And it wasn't just the family, but it was he had employees. I mean, the stories were Mom's sewing machine would not be there somehow. Dad asked her if he could give it to one of the employees because they didn't have a sewing machine back in the day. Or the mower, I wouldn't be able to find the mower. Like, Dad gave it to one of the employees for the mower because they didn't have the mower. So we'll buy another one. So it was just all people you could touch along the way. So that's what you just said. You know, you could touch a human being, you could help a human being. But I don't want people to construe that yeah, just go and work 95 hours and help everybody can help. You know, you got to have some constraints too. But if that answers the question or not, I don't know.
Yeah,
So,
that's perfect.
yeah, it's cool. That's what I'm trying to do too, is help people get off this hamster wheel that everybody's rat race all on, slow it down, control it, get it where you can have a life and you can stick to the plans on the weekends and stick to your family and your children's plans and still do really, really well.
Yeah, you just actually made me think of something. So I had an interesting experience last couple days. I met this guy at in line at Mocha Lounge, and I think now looking back, I think he actually was searching people out. But anyway, I found out the guy was actually a homeless guy, and met him, had a great conversation with him for like 45 minutes. It felt like I was like supposed to be there. Like it felt like God led me to talk to him. Then the next day he reached out to me, and I was like, man, I'll go back. I'll hang out with him. Because I also noticed when I was leaving, I felt like a pull to go pray with him, and I didn't for some reason. And so I was like, man, this is very weird. Like, why am I not doing it? And I need to turn around. Yeah. So I went back the next day because he texted me, and he asked me basically to live with me. And, you know,
that's a bold move.
Yeah, so it's interesting because, you know, you talk about wanting to help people, but then also having your boundaries. Yeah, and so it's like, you know, he's like, well, I see you doing very well in this area. I'm like, you know, you see one side. You have no idea what I'm going through on a lot of other areas of my life, and that would be overstepping my boundaries to where I can't actually fulfill what I'm trying to do and what God's purpose is for me. But although I do want to help you, so basically I just found a way to still help him. But again, set your own boundaries, and if you think about that beforehand, what is my purpose? What can I do? And again, fill up your cup first, like with whatever that looks like, and then make sure you can still pour into others, because that's what I always think about. It's not like self-love and I don't care about people. It's making sure that you set your own boundaries and have that and care for people as deeply and as loving as possible, but still make sure that you're able to not burn out. Because if you burn out, you're not helping anybody.
That's why you do personal growth, is you become better and better at who you are, a better version of yourself. Keep constantly working on that.
Yep.
That way you can help other people.
100%.
That's what that's all about. We all got to grow so we can help others.
Yep.
That's what we're trying to do. So it's cool. So helping each other is what on the end of the day, it's helping each other.
Yep.
Help each other along the journeys.
Yep.
So if you got something to share it. Hope a few people will listen.
100%, man. Well, that's why we're glad that you came on. So if people want to get a hold of you, that way you can help them, what would be the best way? Give out your email again and phone number if you want.
My phone number, yeah. My phone number is really the best. If you're working close to me, text messaging me is the only people that are really close to me that are working with me. All my clients know that if you want to get a hold of Scott, you text me.
Yep.
Because that's the only people that show up on texts. I don't have a lot of texts other than people who are working with me. So 260-705-6500. Yeah, I would love to sit down and talk to some agents, and older and newer and younger, whatever they are, and say, hey, there's a way of going about this. You don't have to react to everything. You can actually learn to respond to things in a controlled manner. And it's calm, it's respectful, it's good. I love it.
That's awesome.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's going to give a lot of help in life in general, too. Yeah. Maybe not even just an agent, but...
Just think if we all were on this. If every one of us sold real estate, like out of our databases, out of our spheres, and so you wouldn't have somebody on a holiday weekend because, putting out houses to list. Like, we all had plans to go somewhere on the holiday weekend, and now this lesson came up, and everybody wants to go look at it like, oh, man.
Yep.
So if we all did it, we did like the commercial brokers did, where you work 8 to 5 on Monday through Friday, which is what they do. I know that that's impossible because you're not going to get everybody to get off the scarcity mentality.
Yep. So
it is what it is. But the few that want to go down the path, it'd be cool to talk to. So,
100%.
Yeah. Cool.
Are there any final thoughts you want to share with our viewers?
No, I think that's it. That's the concept. I think we covered everything pretty good. I got other thoughts in other areas, but we're working out like we all do, and all the kind of things we do, and so
save it for next time.
Yeah, we'll do another one someday.
Love it. Well, thanks again for coming on, man. We appreciate you, and we appreciate you guys for watching. See you on the next one. Peace.